grew up in the hills by the Mississippi River, and so I can't help but be affected by it.
The name of this latest record, Animals in the Dark. What's the metaphor behind that name?
The name Animals in the Dark is a twofold meaning. One is a metaphorical meaning and one is a literal meaning. And the metaphor is, it's my way to describe people in this world that would exert their power over other people in the name of money or their advancement in the world. People like George Bush, and a lot of this was written during the Bush regime. And but it's, you know, not just him, it's Gordon Brown and Tony Blair and Nicolas Sarkozy and on back to Caesar himself. Your maniacal boss at work, you know. Those with visions of conquest that would have their hands around your throat, you know, without you knowing it, and would try to control the lives of everyday people for their own money grubbing and power visions. But also, I live in the woods on a farm, and it has to do literally with animals in the dark outside my cabin at night. During certain seasons of the year, you can hear the owls mating, and you can hear raccoons fighting in the woods, and you can hear the coyotes howling at each other, and I like to step out on my porch and get the coyotes going, you know, start with the howl, and then they'll give me an answer, and then, you know, I can establish this rapport with these animals, and it's a pretty amazing sound. And then in the morning I wake up and hear the birds singing, and so in that way it's quite literal.
Yeah. You mentioned your farm. In what way was your farm important? Because it was important writing place for some previous records. In what way was it important on this record?
Well, my farm has always been my spiritual center and the place where I feel most comfortable in the world, and that's where I do a lot of my writing. Is right there on the farm in the woods, and that's where I feel most inspired. I do some writing when I'm out on the road too, but I'll get ideas, and then when I get home I can congeal them into a pot of stew, you know, and hopefully make something happen with them. But the farm is definitely a very important influence on my music, and it's had I grown up in the mountains or by the ocean, you know, that would have been an influence, but I grew up in the hills by the Mississippi River, and so I can't help but be affected by it.
Yeah, a musician is always in some way inspired by his environment. In what way is your home a different inspiration than, let me say, the mountains or something else?
Well, it's not as much different from living in the mountains or by the ocean than it would be living in a city. You know, where I listen to a lot of hip hop, and some of my favorite hip hop is the music that was influenced by the neighborhoods and the streets. A guy like Mos Def or like Nas from Queensbridge in Brooklyn. I mean, he's always referring to Queensbridge and his neighborhood and his people, and I've just always found that to be fascinating. And same with a lot of hip-hop artists and a lot of the West Coast people as well, like this group called The Coup, that are one of my favorite groups, and they speak about their surroundings. And so for me, being able to make the world see what I see when I'm on the farm, and to be able to share with the world the things I see when I'm there, and it's a big influence on me. And it can't help but find its way into my music, and the life cycles of birth and death, and equating that to planting seeds in the spring and harvesting in the fall, and these metaphors are the ones I enjoy the most.